You guys ready? We'll go ahead and get started. My name's Alexis King. I'm the district attorney here in the 1st Judicial District. It's Jefferson and Gilpin counties. Standing with me today, we have Assistant District Attorney Jen Rhodes, Chief Investigator Michelle Wagner, and Investigator Mark Spurgeon. They're part of the team that worked to come to a decision in the Olde Town Arvada shooting from this summer. I appreciate the media for coming out today. This has been an event that really impacted our community, and it's important for everyone to know that we will not be filing charges against the officer who shot the Good Samaritan, John Hurley, that day in June. Today, we spent the morning with the family discussing our decision. We notified the CERT commander who led the investigation, and we also notified the Arvada Police Department of our decision as well. I just want to take a moment and share my team's deepest sympathy for the Hurley family. They lost a brave son and brother that day, and we really appreciate everyone's patience as we took the time to render a decision here with the information that we needed. I'll take a moment to tell you a bit about our process. Here in the 1st Judicial District, we have a critical incident response team. That CERT team responds to any incident in which law enforcement uses deadly force. It's a group of highly trained investigators and detectives who work under my authority. It includes folks from all over the jurisdiction and multiple agencies. As part of the CERT team, they get to be objective, protect the integrity of the investigation, exercise independent judgment, and minimize conflicts of interest when it comes to use of force investigations. One key element of our CERT protocol is that the involved agency, in this situation, Arvada, does not perform any critical duties as it relates to the use of force. On June 21st, 2021, the day of the shooting, Arvada Police activated the CERT team. It was led by Jefferson County Sheriff's Office Commander Kleinschmidt. On September 9th, Commander Kleinschmidt briefed me and my leadership team and turned the investigation over to us for review. In coming to this decision, my team and I reviewed over 3,200 photographs, over 1,000 pages of reports by the Lakewood Police Department, Jefferson County Sheriff's Office, Wheat Ridge Police Department, Golden Police Department, and other local and federal law enforcement agencies. I was on scene that day when all these agents came out, and I will tell you that call for mutual aid and the response from our community partners was breathtaking, with folks just there to help. One thing that became evident throughout our review was that John Hurley that day acted as a hero. Had he survived, we would have praised his bravery in engaging a mass shooter before anyone else was killed. He acted to defend others, and we will remember him for his selflessness. Our role was to look at the facts and compare them to the law. The officer here had objectively reasonable grounds to believe and did believe that he and other people were in imminent danger of being killed that day. The officers that day saw a mass shooter, heard many rounds of gunfire in broad daylight in the heart of Olde Town Arvada. Thus, the officer's decision to shoot John Hurley was legally justified despite his heroic actions that day. Let's talk about what happened that day. Around 1:30 in the afternoon, there were 3 officers assigned to the community outreach team that was substationed in a small office building that was just north of the square in Olde Town. They were finishing up lunch, and they heard a series of bangs. Bang, 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 a pause, bang, 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 bang. They left their office, they went down a narrow hallway to the east, and looked out a small metal door with a glass window on top. In the southeast corner of that parking lot, they saw a man in black pacing around, and they saw him turn and head back east towards Webster Street behind the library and down by a parking lot. They saw him near a truck, but he didn't get into it. Instead, the man with an AR-style rifle, dressed all in black, turned back towards the Olde Town Arvada Square. All the officers, all three of them, knew at that point that they needed to find a way to engage this masked gunman. One of them went to the west side of the building and saw that there were just folks streaming out of the square in a panic, away from this man in black. Second officer went to a window on the south-facing side of the building, planning to engage the shooter through the window, but he never appeared. The first officer on the west side couldn't get out the door, and then the final officer stayed at that east-facing door, and then another round of gunfire. Bang, 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 bang. The officers ran to that east door, and as they came around the corner, they knew that their third officer at that east door had shot a man in a red shirt standing near the same place that they had seen the man in black. The man in the red shirt was carrying an AR-style rifle, and it was on the ground beside him. Working on a case like this is an incredibly humbling experience because we lost 2 people that day when a mass shooter brought violence to the heart of Olde Town Arvada. We lost Officer Gordon Beesley, who was murdered for being a police officer. And we lost Johnny Hurley, a young man who made an incredible choice to engage on behalf of strangers. This left the city in mourning, and knowing the impact of these losses was a profound responsibility charged to my team and our CERT investigation. We've dedicated hundreds of hours to evaluate the incredible decision made by the officer to engage John Hurley. And we hope our decision not to file charges will bring a small piece of closure to those affected, and that in this finality there is some healing. With that, I'd be happy to take a couple questions. I think she was first. No, he did not. The officers had almost an opportunity to engage the man in black, but they never had a clear shot. And when John Hurley came into view, they had a clear shot. He was armed with both the AR and a handgun, and he was facing towards the square, just seconds after they had last seen the man in black.
Does that make a difference, Alexis, when you talk about that? The fact that he didn't say drop the weapon?
Based on the facts and not only the information shared by witnesses, but also surveillance and other evidence that we collected, this officer believed and had reasonable grounds to believe that John Hurley was a second mass shooter, and he really only had a moment to safely engage him before putting others potentially at risk.
You mentioned that you spoke with the family this morning. What was their reaction to you coming out and saying that there are no charges being filed?
I don't want to pretend to stand in their shoes. They lost someone they just deeply treasured, but we will make ourselves available to them as needed as they process through this. Yes?
The status of the Arvada police officer?
I'm sorry, there's some audio difficulty. What is the status of the Arvada police officer?
In what sense? I'm sorry.
Is he still employed by APD, or is he still on active duty?
I don't know his formal status. I don't think he's working right now, though.
What is his name?
We'll be making that available later.
You said that the CERT team gave you this on September 9th. Why did this investigation take so long? 2 more months for you guys to review all this?
Yeah, you know, it's a lot of information. And I think that we really took the time that was necessary to make sure that we not only reviewed, but absorbed and critiqued and considered everything that had been presented to us when it came to asking and answering that ultimate question around appropriate use of force and whether or not charges would be appropriate here.
Not just with body cams involved in this case.
So here in the 1st Judicial District, not all of our officers have cameras yet. We did consider all cameras that were available that day, so there were a handful.
I understand that. Since hypothetically, what body cam could that have been helpful in determining what happened and making a decision?
You know, body cams can sometimes be profoundly helpful and sometimes not, so it'd be hard to know that in a vacuum.
I have a question. I know you said you reviewed, the photos, the police reports, and I think when people hear about a decision like this, they want to know maybe what was that one piece of evidence that, kind of solidified this for you, the decision not to press charges?
I used to always think that there was this one magical piece of evidence, and I've come to learn that it's always a constellation. But I will tell you that the presence and the danger presented by the man in black that day, Mr. Troike, was just an overwhelming factor in the overall evaluation of community safety and the protection of other people.
We're gonna do one more question. Go, Elise.
Do you know how long between Hurley being shot, how long passed between him being shot and aid being rendered to him?
I don't have that information handy. We certainly could go get it for you. Our focus, though, is on the use of force piece. And so what we're really trying to figure out is what happened in the time between when officers originally knew that there was a potential threat and ultimately engaged in Mr. Hurley. We're really talking about a handful of minutes, around 3 minutes.
Sorry, let's do one more.
Yeah, if you don't mind just clarifying, you went through the timeline of how things happened. Can you clarify though for us, was John Hurley holding the weapon or was it on the ground when he was shot by the police officer?
Certainly. The officer who shot John Hurley did see him holding and manipulating the AR-style rifle and a handgun at the time he took the shot. The other 2 officers who came down that narrow hallway saw Mr. Hurley down with the rifle beside him. All right. Thank you all so much. Really appreciate your time today.